Yeah, Deputy Rabbitte, Senator Deputy. Yeah.
Thanks a million for your presentation, and yes, I did attend your conference, and in actual fact this was incredibly enlightening, and in actual fact you could nearly take a roadshow of it, because in actual fact I was there not only in my role as children's spokesperson, but I was also there as a parent, and I found it incredibly informative. I thought your guest speakers were outstanding, and you're dead right, the role of the teacher and the role of the Gardaí have a huge role as well to play in it. I suppose I'm up to speed, being a mother of 3 as well, on it and everything that you're saying. So I'll come from the angle of where the parent comes from and the challenges that they find, and see how can we overcome it. Before Christmas, or just after Christmas, the PSNI let go 100 short abbreviations which they were experiencing in Northern Ireland. I'm just wondering if you've had any engagement with An Garda Síochána here to do similarly the same. I rang them up, and I'm just wondering, did the ISPCC also request? Because I think actually, in fact, while it is the PSNI that's doing it in the north, I think the parents down the south would actually like to see exactly the same. What are the top 100 3-letter analogues or 4-letter analogues that they're using? My other one was in relation to the ISPCC, your viewpoint on phones in schools. Now, I'm not saying phones in school. When I'm talking about phones in schools, I'm talking about, yes, kids, parents need a particular relationship, I'm leaving now or whatever. But during the day, do you believe in time out during the day, during their academic time? Because in actual fact, at the moment, a particular minister is after saying that he understands the need of the phone in the classroom, so as they can check things up and everything else. I thought that was the role of the whiteboard. I'd love to hear your viewpoint in relation to the role of the phone in the school. And finally, the providers, be it Vodafone, Air, be it the Samsung or iPhone. I rang up there, I'd say last summer, and I wanted to put, in actual fact, a time limit on the phone. As in, yes, I'm allowing you to have the phone, but you can have it for an hour. And you set it as in on the actual phone hard drive. Now, would you believe it, under the older versions of the phone, you could actually do this. But the 5s and the 6s and all of this crack, you can't now do it. They've actually disengaged from doing this. And I'm wondering if you've been in contact with any of the actual phone providers. And then I'm talking about the network. I have to compliment, in particular, Vodafone, for the simple reason being, you actually can put change of password or whatever like that on it, and you can do it remotely. But parents aren't aware of that they can actually do it. You can do it remotely. I can do it when I'm up here for my 2 days or 3 days. I can do it from home, and my kids have access to the phone from 7 to 8 in the evening. But that should be something that's of common knowledge, and it should be easily accessible to all. And I think, in actual fact, parents need support and parents need help, because you are right, the pressure is coming from the peers and the parent is the oddball that hasn't the clue. But in actual fact, parents need to hold on to that control, and if they have the control and the tools to do it, I think we're moving in the right direction. But the providers need to help the parents as well.
Showed away in a responsible and...
Well, thank you very much, Chair. I suppose I will concur with what the Chair has said. I do welcome you here, and I welcome your opening comments there this morning. And I suppose the backdrop is the Chair has presented as to why you're sitting in front of us. But I acknowledge the fact that you've come in here so quickly, and I welcome your statement as well. I think it has been very open and honest with us, and I think you have been open and honest in identifying various issues that would have been out there in the public domain in the last number of days. I'm going to steer my questions in 2 particular ways. One is in relation to confidence, and the other one is in relation to the retrospective cases or the historic cases, because I think your statement, you covered both aspects of it. In relation to your confidence, I have very pointed questions. First, finishing off from where you left off, is Tusla satisfied itself with its own internal IT system? I'm sure you're used to me asking that for a long number of time now in relation to the ICT system and the whole framework about sharing of information. So as if a child left Galway and comes to Dublin, how do the councillors work with? So they're the sort of that connectivity which I believe myself might not be there, but where do you believe you have confidence in it? That's one of the questions. What I also would like to know is that is Tusla satisfied with the multi-party involvement? And what I mean by that is the overarching or the sharing of information and with our responsible people with the sharing of information, that in actual fact there's a good enough sieving mechanism so that when an allegation comes forward, that you have people trained that can identify the cases, that you have the number of people to investigate the cases. So basically what I'm saying is you have allocated or told us there that there's 4,000 Tusla workers. That's news to me for the simple reason being I would have asked the Minister in the last 2 weeks. She wasn't in a position to give me the answers. You're telling me now today we have 4,000 workers. I'm saying, have you enough workers to do the job that you're doing? In the backdrop of 2015, you got an allocation of an extra €6 million to actually hire the extra additional staff. Where are we in hiring the staff to actually deal with the fallout of what was a very detailed report with the amount of retrospective cases? Are the proper checks and balances in place then when allegations are made to deal with people coming forward? Because that's a seriously high volume, and I assume it has come down since 150,000, of where there's 50,000 initially would have been in relation to sex allegation abuses cases. So have we the proper checks and balances in place to check out what's coming forward and verifying what's been said and the people for it? And just to move on then, to deal with the retrospective or the historic cases, as I like to call them, or the bottom drawers. Have we enough people now working on those? I hear you, what you're saying to me there is that the numbers have dropped dramatically over the last 12 months, but still at the same time, when I would have asked a question back on the 5th of July in relation to adult disclosure cases, we were still looking at the fact that 2015 there was 8,865. Of which there was a huge portion of those in 2016 were still in high priority listing. What level of those are still identified as high priority cases? Because I think in actual fact, and this is something I'm going to read to you there, in relation to high priority cases, what we would classify when they make a historic disclosure, are they prioritised at the very, very beginning as a high, medium or low risk? For the simple reason being is you possibly still have a potential abuser at large till it's fully investigated. So how does Tusla categorise that original allegation that comes forward? In what risk capacity is it? High, medium or low? Because my understanding is retrospective cases, when they come forward, are actually deemed to be low, whereas I would actually thought they would actually be quite high to actually investigate it fully and have you the manpower to deliver it there. And I suppose, if that's okay, Chair, I'll come back in again if there's an issue.
Thank you.